Welcome back to Natural Wellness Transformations podcast. I'm your host, Laura Beth Guthrie, and today I have Mira Weiner with me. She is from South Africa. I am really excited about this. This is my first international interview, so welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here and to connect with you and to chat. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think this is fantastic. So tell me a little bit about how you got into all this and how you kind of came to where you are today with everything.
So how to condense a whole lifetime into a quick summarized sentence. I think that I definitely have to start with the fact that I was very blessed to be born to parents that were very open-minded and very much into holistic treatments and natural living. So very grateful and blessed to have grown up in that space with lots of influences of macrobiotics and Ayurveda. So even given that, I think that we all rebel from our parents and from our upbringing at some point in our lives. And so I've kind of come full circle in that sense, in that I'm back there now and really using a lot of those influences from my childhood to help me in my transformational healing journey from kind of being in the space of where I'm at now and what I've been through in the last about 18 months, nearly 2 years. So I'm a little country pumpkin. I must start there maybe. I live in a little rural village, which is about 2 hours away from Cape Town, which is in South Africa, as you mentioned. And I'm in the PR and hospitality sort of industry. So my job and my career is very much based in food and wine and travel and events and high stress, lots of late nights, lots of deadlines. Lots of pressure in a very different space. And so I think leading up to where I'm at and kind of what happened to me nearly 2 years ago, it was September 2018, is that I suffered through a lot of trauma in various facets with work pressures, work stress, family dynamics, really burning the candle on both ends, not sleeping well, not looking after myself, working hard and playing even harder, partying a lot, and just trying to kind of keep up with everything and push all of my feelings, all of my experiences, everything that was happening to me. I was very much, as much as I was raised to be very connected to my intuition and very kind of connected to source, I was all about distracting myself with what was going on with everyone else in my life, and very much in a space of being the glue, as I like to kind of call it. And I think I've had to work on myself like a lot and really look at my life and the role of who I am as a person in this lifetime and what my role means. And so for me, being the glue has been always being the glue with my family, being the glue with my friends. I come from an interesting family because I'm an only child, but my parents have other kids on both sides. So my mom's been married twice and she's got 3 kids. And my dad's been married, shock, 5 times, and he has 7 kids. So weird in a sense because I've always felt very much on the outside, very kind of lonely and isolated, being a single child of a single mother, but then having all these siblings. And so in both kind of broken, sort of blended, complicated families, I'm always the glue between the parents, between the siblings. And then in my own friendships and my own workspace, I'm always the glue between helping people, connecting people, in both a negative and a positive way. I think being someone who has a personality of being a saver, I'm always looking for a project. I'm always about saving someone. It's always about someone else, fixing someone else because I can't fix myself. So I think I've spent a long time having that role of being the glue, like I mentioned, and just focusing so much on numbing what was going on with myself in various facets, with food, with alcohol, with drugs, and really saving and putting all my energy into people around me, in work, in family, friends, and all of those relationships. And then at the age of 28, it just kaboom. It was too much. It hit me. And I was basically hospitalized. I thought I was having a heart attack. I was all alone in my car and rushed to hospital, very much convinced that I was having a heart attack. I'm a very independent person and very much, I'm a Jewish drama queen. I'll take my title. But I know that I also can handle a lot. And so for me to kind of like go to hospital, I was like, this is not an emotional breakdown. Like, this is not a panic attack. Like, I am dying. Literally like went into the emergency room going like, tell me I'm dying. I know that I'm dying.
And instead.
And then I think that was the most challenging thing for me, is that diagnosed me. So literally on like my insurance papers, it was like, you have neck tension anxiety.
Oh, no.
And I was like, what? I need a massage. Like, what diagnosis is that? No, like I full on, like I'm dying, like I'm really sick, and like, what is happening here? So I left on a cocktail of the best pharmaceutical medicine that I think I've ever had, being a child who's grown up on homeopathic remedies. Most amount of pharmaceuticals that I'd had in my lifetime. I probably only had antibiotics maybe 3 or 4 times in my life. So it was an interesting experience. And I basically left the hospital and I slept for 3 months, like 14 to 16 hours a day, going from someone who couldn't sleep and was an insomnia, working through the night. I just slept. And that's kind of like all I could manage to do. And the whole time thinking, well, this will pass. This is just like a thing. Like, I'm kind of like, I'm burnt out, I need a good nap and some tea and a good laugh, and like, this will all be fine. And just not having a diagnosis for those first 6 months. So a lot of stuff was going on. The biggest symptom for me during that space of time was having what I didn't know then, but I know now, were just panic attacks on the day, like just daily panic attacks all the time, going from someone who was extremely confident and very much in control, a little bit of a control freak of my life. I've never really suffered from mental health before. And so I was very much the person who was looking around me at friends and family who suffered from depression, who kind of was not saying it to their faces, but in my mind going, well, just smile and get up and pretend when you're not depressed and just kind of carry on with your life and be grateful and like, you'll be fine. Oh. And then being in this really weird space where I didn't know it was anxiety. I didn't know it was a panic attack. So I was just like, oh, I really don't feel well. Like, I have chest pain. My vision is blurred. I can't breathe. I feel like someone is strangling me. Like, what is happening? Like, there's something physically wrong with me in my body. And just going from kind of going to therapy, going to like your normal GP, just going to whoever I could and whoever I kind of knew, and doing my own research. And I just never got a diagnosis. Everyone went like, oh, you're depressed. You should go on antidepressants. So we tried that. That was the most horrific experience in my life. And I know that a lot of people, I'm sure in America, on antidepressants every single day of their lives. I honestly think I would have killed myself. I was in a very, very dark space, and antidepressants were just making me like crash even worse. To the point that I was literally one day in my garden, like crawling on my grass, literally crawling on my grass, going like, I don't know what is happening to me, but I feel like my chest is going to explode, or the earth is going to swallow me up, or something's going to happen, because I can't breathe. I can't function. It was so bad to a point that I bought my first house when I was 25. So I've been an entrepreneur from a very young age and very sort of independent and self-sufficient. And I was then living on my mother's couch and sleeping at my mother's house. couldn't shower without my mom like sitting on the toilet seat literally while I showered. I could not go out. I didn't leave my house. For the first good 6 months, it was really difficult for me to leave my house. Going from someone who was the life of the party, who ran and owned 2 businesses and had staff and was in events and hospitality as a career path, and then being this person who was literally too terrified to like walk to my car and get in my car. I didn't recognize myself. I didn't know what was wrong with me. It was so hard to explain to friends and clients who were like, come out with us and come to this meeting and come to this event. I was going like,
Can't do it.
I'm just gonna get up and I'm gonna shower. And then after I've showered, I'm gonna see if like, what's the next step? Like, what's the one thing that I could handle? So yeah, I think the hardest thing for me was getting diagnosed. And then once I was diagnosed, that fear of the unknown, of like, you're not actually dying. This isn't like some crazy disease. This is completely normal. Your body has carried you your entire life. You have abused it by decisions that you have made, but also by life and by trauma and by many things that you've experienced. And knowing that what I was feeling and what I was going through was okay, and just allowing myself to be in that space, because I so wanted to fix it. I wanted to change it. I wanted to mold it into a little box and put a label on it and do something about it. So basically, in a nutshell, I was diagnosed with extreme burnout and severe adrenal fatigue. And then I kind of went like, oh, so it's like chronic fatigue, like you just need to like sleep and it'll get better kind of thing. Like, what does that mean? I did quite a bit of research actually about chronic fatigue and adrenal fatigue. And it's quite interesting because adrenal fatigue is like a really gradual process. So over many, many months, over many, many years, you put your body under stress, and your body is basically just in this continuous like flight or fright mode. Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of where I had been, is that throughout like the last, probably like my whole life, but I would say quite intensely the last 5 years of like my adult life, I was just in this constant kind of this roller coaster of like, excuse my language, happening at me all the time, and trying to cope and trying to juggle and trying to fix and trying to just kind of keep afloat in the space where I felt like I was in a boat in a massive storm and the boat was just leaking everywhere. But instead of just being still and calm and quiet and going like, okay, how do we safely get to shore? I was like a crazy person with every bucket I could find, just like scoop the water out, scoop the water out, scoop the water out. And just constantly trying to be kind of dealing with what was in front of me all the time, and just not being still, not being quiet, and not connecting with my true self. And that has probably been the most hardest, most challenging part of this journey, but also the most rewarding. I went into this having a couple of underlying chronic issues. I have polycystic ovarian syndrome, which is a hormonal imbalance. I have a liver condition as well. I'm slightly anemic. So I had quite a few other chronic issues, and then major symptoms. So I was nauseous every single day. I was suffering from chronic pain. I was throwing up all the time. I was dizzy. I had vertigo. I had absolutely no energy. Just all of these symptoms, and kind of not knowing where to start, and trying so many different things. Naturopath stuff, trying herbal teas, doing everything that I could, and just kind of like not hitting the nail on the head, and kind of not getting to the root cause of what was going on. So I think many things saved my life. Therapy was a very big part of it. Finding the right therapist. I've been in therapy all my life. It's a very much a beautiful journey and a waste of time.
Can be both.
I think that, therapy in itself, I think, is the most incredibly healing space to be in. And if you can find the right person, that is really about helping you to become a well and functioning human being, and equipping you with the tools to do that. Because life is going to happen, and it is going to happen, and horrible, this sounds like a really horrible downer, but things are going to happen all the time. And you need to learn to to react to them and how to react to them. And I think that was the biggest thing for me is through going through burnout, I couldn't handle anything. I used to be the multitasking queen. You could throw like 4,000 things at me and I was like, yes, 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 like in my element. And now you'd ask me to like tie someone's shoe and brush my teeth at the same time. And I was like, no, 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 like I can't, like, no, like this is too much.
Yeah. I think you
So I
hit on
really
something really interesting though, especially talking about the whole like feeling the need to go, 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 go and do all this stuff. And there's almost not as much value, or at least from what I have seen, and I know here in America it's this way, that like there's not much value put on being still and on taking that time for yourself. It's almost like it's considered non-productive time. And I think that was one of the things you were talking about, being in the service industry. And when I went through my stuff, that was kind of a similar thing, is like I was just burning the candle at both ends, like you said. And the whole notion of stopping and giving myself time to rest did not feel productive. It felt like a waste of time. It felt like I was devaluing myself to do that.
completely. And I think we've been taught kind of by society and by our cultures and our environment that we are human doings and not human beings.
Yeah, I like that.
And so ingrained in us, you know. And I think for me as well, I was addicted to my work, and you know, everything was work, work, work. And so I never got a chance to process and to just kind of to be and to. There's a beautiful saying in Italian. I can't remember the first word, but I think it's dolce far niente. I'm not Italian, but I feel like I was an Italian in my past life. I love the Italians. And it's the sweetness of doing nothing. And that's been something so interesting for me to, which I think brings me to one of the kind of pillars that I talk about in my healing journey, and that's meditation. And something that is very, very challenging for a busy mind and for me
Yeah.
to be still and to be quiet. And my parents have very much been meditating throughout my life, and so they've meditated for 2.5 hours every day. They follow a spiritual path, and so yeah, I grew up in that space, which was an incredibly beautiful, energetic space to be in. And I always thought like, oh, maybe one day. And then becoming an adult and sitting to try and meditate for 20 seconds, and you're like, was that 20 hours?
Yeah.
But what I can say is that I did Deepak Chopra's 21-day meditation challenge, and that completely changed my life. It's a challenge that combines meditation with like daily tasks and activities, and it was really incredible. So being able to be still and to just quiet my mind and recharge my soul, which I think is something that, you know, we recharge our bodies, we exercise, we look at food, we look at like mental health, we look at stress, we look at all these things. And recharging my soul was so important because my soul was exhausted. And so I needed to kind of go through those layers throughout my journey and going, this is what I'm doing physically, this is what I'm doing emotionally, this is what I'm doing mentally, and now this is like sort of spiritually for my spirit, what is needed. And that's helped me on so many different levels, starting my day in a different way and having a different morning routine that includes movement, includes meditation, instead of my previous routine, which was oversleeping because I was up all night working, or up all night because I'm a complete insomniac, and then rushing with that, you know, first cup of coffee to my first meeting, and like not having a chance to eat or to do anything, just completely on that rat race like wheel all the time with work and just not taking the time that I needed. So having those morning times and just prioritizing my health and putting myself first, I would never ever have done that if I didn't crash and burn. So small silver linings.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that, because I think that was, I actually ended up in the emergency room. Mine was not a heart attack. I don't know how much you've heard of my story, but I actually had what looked like an allergic reaction. And
Mhm.
of course, we come to find out it's a stress related reaction. And they called it, they don't have an adrenal fatigue diagnosis here. What they called it was um, idiopathic adrenal insufficiency. But if I had not had that moment where the entire world felt like, okay, this is it, I'm dying, like this is how I go out, I'm about to have an anaphylactic shock, I've got hives all over my body and it's closing in on my throat, and this is how I go out and I'm dying, and what was the point of any of this? Like, if that moment had not occurred and I had not started, like, why am I doing this, what is the point, I don't think I would have ever slowed down either. So it's a really interesting thing to see how you can get kind of hit over the head by the universe and, wake up, this is important, you have to pay attention. And I think it's fantastic you're getting your journey out there, because I think that if people hear this and they start to realize that, oh wow, like if I don't slow down, I could end up in these kinds of scenarios too. I think that what you're doing, where you're telling about these things and you're talking through some of this and talking about the different pillars that you have, that you've used on your journey, and that you're, working with other people to share, I think that's important, because maybe if somebody hears your story, then they will slow down before they themselves are stuck in their car and all by themselves going, okay, I really do have to call for emergency help now, because I'm definitely dying in this moment.
Yeah, I always I read something, I don't know who the author is, I think it's unknown, but it said, if you do not make time for your wellness now, you'll be forced to make time for your illness later.
Yes.
And that so stuck with me, because that was always what I was like, backbone. No, I will start that diet, that exercise regime, that whatever later. I'll start looking after myself later. And then later was now. And I'm very blessed that it wasn't too late for me. I think that if I didn't have really incredible people who helped me on this journey, I often go, and I'm still in which I'll chat about, in a wellness clinic. And I always think, a year ago, I don't know if I would have been here. You guys literally saved my life, because I'm not a suicidal person in any way, but I was in such a dark space and such a dark hole that I went like, if this is my new reality and this is how I'm going to physically and emotionally and mentally feel every single day, I don't want to do it. I can't do it. Like, there's no way that I'm going to be able to live like this. And becoming extremely dependent and codependent on my mother again, as a 28-year-old, like was independent woman, and a businesswoman, entrepreneur, and someone that my friends really looked up to. I kind of put my own self on this pedestal, and I went like, I can't now be this person who's like a baby. I can't even go to the shops. I can't do anything. I wasn't able to even be in my office and work alone without having her nearby. And so that was an amazing experience, in a sense of having to tell the truth. And so I think that was a big thing for me, in being able to show up and be like, this is me. This is all of me. I know that I'm usually this bright, bubbly persona, and I'm hilarious, and I'm confident, I'm all of these things, but I'm also all of these things and these other things that are happening right now. And it was a tough experience, because in the beginning, my friends were like, what's going on with her? And I was like, well, I don't know, but I feel really disgusting and awful. And I know I can't come out drinking with you guys. Like, I think it was so difficult for me to explain to colleagues and clients and friends and family, because I didn't have a diagnosis for that first while. Everyone just was like, well, my friend had like some kind of a breakdown or something, like she's not herself, she's really weird now. um, and not being able to sit people down and say, okay, guys, this is what happened to me. I now have X, Y, and Z. And in order to get better, this is what I need. And so I'm not able to do certain things that I used to be able to do. And now, in hindsight, looking back, when you talk about how I'm sharing my story, I didn't ever share it with even the close people in my life, because I felt And I hate saying that I felt ashamed, because I think mental health is so important, and it shouldn't be something that we ever feel ashamed about. But I did feel that. I felt like I'm such a strong emotional person. I've been through so much stuff in my life. Surely, like, I don't want to be I have anxiety. I'm not that person. I don't want to put that title on me. And I think that was also really important, because throughout the process for me, I always felt like my mind was strong.
Mm-hmm.
And I was so convinced and certain that there was something broken, or something that had happened physically to me in my body that no one could diagnose.
Yeah.
And so every blood test went like, well, you have a few of these physical things, but nothing that points to these like panic attacks that you're having. And I didn't even call them panic attacks. For the first 6 months, I would be like, oh, I had an episode. I didn't even know what it was.
Yeah.
I had the episode again. Like, I really could not actually be like, this is a mental health thing. I was like, there is something physically wrong with me. And I think at the time, I wish that there was a platform or a person or someone that was kind of like in my space, even if it was an Instagram account, that was talking about these issues, so that I could be like, oh, wow, okay, someone else is going through. So I didn't quite have that, but I had the story of like my sister going, oh, this one girl's hairdresser's cousin, sister's daughter, she went through something like that. Why don't you phone her?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And so I did reach out to this person, and I went like, I think I have what you have. And they were like, oh, good luck. We're 3 years in. It's a really long process. And
Oh
I was
no.
like, yeah, no, no, no. I was like, oh, no, no. So what you guys think is 3 years, I'm going to do it in like 3 weeks, 3 months. Like, I'm going to do it quick. Crash course. Let's
Yeah.
go. Give me the tools.
Well, and that goes back to that mentality that we've kind of been fed, is like, the more productive we are, the more value there is to it, and therefore if we can get it done faster, like, that's the better way to go. And it's like, oh, not when it comes to wellness, and like you said, your soul.
Completely. And I think in a space of, I'm not an anti-Western medicine person. I choose to use natural medicine and holistic therapies because it's what works for me specifically. And I've often gone the other route and I just get sicker. So it doesn't work for me. It just makes me feel more horrific and not understand what's going on. And the process is then even longer, because then I end up going back to my natural space. But I think in so many countries across the world, and just how the pharmaceutical industry is set up, the whole kind of thing is like, you want a quick fix. You're not well, so it's like having something in your house that's broken, and instead of fixing it, you're just going to like paint it over and pretend it's not there.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, you can do that if that works for you, and you might get like a really great shade of paint, but eventually the paint's going to come off and there's a huge hole in your wall, and you've got to go like into the wall and fix the hole. And that process is long. That process takes time. And what I can say, only being 18 months into this journey, is that it's 100% worth all the time in the world, because it might take a lifetime.
Yeah.
And it's actually okay, because it's not a destination, it's a journey. And so accepting that, and just knowing that it's going to be a journey of ups and downs, it's going to take you to places, but there is hope, and you can heal yourself, and you can do that. Very much an advocate for doing stuff through healthcare practitioners that know what you're doing. Don't go to Dr. Google. And I'm not a qualified healthcare practitioner at all. I'm very passionate about wellness. I'm very passionate about holistic healing, and about doing things naturally, and living a conscious lifestyle. And I can share what has worked for me, but everyone's body is different. And the biggest person and the biggest healer, and the thing that's going to really help you to survive anything more than any doctor or surgeon, is yourself, and listening to your gut and allowing your body to heal itself, because it's 100% possible.
Exactly. Well, Mira, thank you so much. I have enjoyed having this conversation. Guys, make sure that you keep listening because we're going to have 2 more interviews that'll drop over the next couple of weeks. Again, this is Natural Wellness Transformations. Mira, how can people follow you on Instagram, or how do you?
Yeah, so it's a new journey for me. So at Mira Weiner, Miraweiner on Instagram. I am working on doing a website and also a YouTube channel, which I'm sure we'll chat about some more because my big passion is plant-based nourishment and food and healing through natural food. So I share lots of amazing recipes and inspiration on that platform.
Yay. Well, y'all go and make sure you follow her and reach out to her if you are just needing a support buddy on this journey, because we are not in this alone. And again, naturalwellnesstransformations.com if you have any questions for me at any time. And we'll catch you in the next podcast, or if you're watching this on YouTube, we'll catch you in the next video.